Hello and welcome. And now let's look at the 34th verse, known as the creative God, from the book Footprints on Water's Way. Now, this verse illuminates how there is no division uh, or there is no split of creator, creation, creativity, or performer, performance. On the contrary, there is no solid entities of there being a creator and creation. Whatever seems to appear is simply an apparent happening. It's what's apparently happening on its own, with no one sitting behind the scenes or doing it and no individual performing. But it's simply apparently what's happening. Even the dream of duality or the illusion of there being separation is apparently what's happening. So let's read through. It's a very long verse, and it's on how there's a chef oil and who has two common chefs, ginger and garlic, and how they apparently discuss about God and about the sense of self and about karma and destiny. And so I'll go through a few verses. So let's see. Let's start with this. In a famous restaurant's kitchen, two comic chefs were on a mission to imagine dishes unknown from ingredients less known. The creative ginger garlic seemed in subtle conflict to outdo each other by creativeness and flavor. They both endeavored to impress the head with the talents they did possess, and similarly did endeavor. Yet, Ginger got regard for flavor, for he was flexible of the two, and tea and biscuits loved him too. The garlic stayed in the background, yet his clout was quite profound. The head chef, extra virgin olive oil, though welcoming, rapidly did boil. He lived in a bottle of glass, respected unfiltered mass. Ever perfection did demand, quickly did reprimand if slacked any subordinates in service of the dish on the plate. But creativity he did favor and praised the use of fleshware. Now I'm going to read this part. Now this But the juniors thought he was absurd, more suited for the world of words. He's a bit apparently absurd. Now he says about an apparent creativity. He speaks of there being a creativity without a creator, the chef oil. Flip your story and see this. Does anything seem amiss? This arising scene existent is oneness, spontaneously apparent. Just pure creativity in use without a creator to pursue. The ginger quickly did insert. At the head's perplexing words, the present scene is routine, unlike a spectacular cuisine. What do you mean by no creator? Isn't God the originator? The head decisively replied, in manner secured and glorified. The present scene is routine for a mind bound in cuisines, while everything is new in the emerging view. And what do you believe is God? A creator with an eternal squad? Or a food in a transcendental state? Or formless that is from you separate? Whatever you believe of God is truly amiss or flawed, for binding God in any image, even formless, is sacrilege. For the formless too is an image which the divine does limit. Apparent eating of the fruit of knowledge which begets pursuit, curbs everything in form or its opposing norm. All that appears is the divine, nothing too, so it cannot be confined. Besides, as an infant, did you know existed a God created this show? Isn't every image you imagine as per the learnt captions? Isn't it taught exists a divine with its debates and shrines? Isn't it taught exists a divine distinct to be revered? Is far or near a savior? Or one must merge in it or realize it, or know the cosmic soul without limit, or get its grace and pray or serve it or follow certain rules with verve. If something is natural, can it be taught or learned as factual? Can you learn or teach how to breathe or eat or drink or sleep or seethe? Is God separate from you to be viewed false or true? And if God's omnipotent, omnipresent, can it be experienced or have a second? Can God be known or need a reason to be, appear as it does? Are demons beyond its purview? Can one defy it or unite with it or it split? Is God only in the good and bliss and against it in verses? And if there's a God so small, is it even God at all? An authority discriminatory? The puzzle seemed the ginger garlic, besieged by questions odd and erratic. But they didn't want to interrupt the head, for they wished favor of him who led. Yet If we were to speak of a divine, does it alone does it not alone thus shine, formless animating as forms, not split in performer, performed, neither male nor female nor split, yet appearing as every bit, but unaffected it does stay, just being this apparent play. Is one in appearance diverse, yet a single undefined verse, truly vast and infinite, and unknowing without limit. It's simply this, not a part, but is the beating of the heart, is the breath that's intimate, is love's apparent portrait, the light of all eyes, the sound of cries and untouched skies, experiencing or tasting its every hue, is being the seeming view, or this appearance the divine, performing by itself in design. Just this, playing as each hue without another in the view as this unrepeatable moment without an opponent is that which is and isn't displayed, ineffable to further say. Continuing after a pause, he said, it is beyond a cause, is the unchanged that seems to change, the normal and the strange. It is the kindness of the kind, the design of the designed, the bravery of the brave, the craving and the craved, the beauty of the beautiful, the dread and the dreadful. It is the grace of the gracious and malice too of the malicious, the hierarchical display, yet not swayed by the graded play. The seen, unseen, seeing, unseeing, the being and non being, a stillness in the seeming gate, boundless too alive to articulate, existent and may not, maybe not, simply beyond all thought, just formless forming in one go, with none to control the show, or nothing appearing as everything, or maybe not, none to know the plot. For none is existent to know it is absent, present, apparent, alone, unknown, ineffable. So now, then the ginger, of course, questions. I thought I'm the creator, true of all acts that you. Never did I recognize that all is God alone. And so he goes on, and of course, the head chef then I'll leave this, I'll read this out. Notice all there is the present scene, an apparent response unforeseen. The individual appears later to claim the entire feature, then labels the event as good or bad, delightful, terrible, or sad, creates a story of acts and deems them to be life's fact, while the appearing scene in view is creative wandering in hue, or rather is floating fluidity in apparent creativity, with transformative ability and illusory capability. This creativity is love pure, formless as formed contours. In this, it is about how the Hindu scriptures talk about Brahman being, Brahma being something that is an illusion that seeks itself and then appears as floating fluidity. Now, owning this appearing creativity as creator of the activity is and falling in love with this. Now, he says, but this I is not something that is done by someone. It's simply an appearing. It's an illusion. It's not even appears. It's an illusion. It's something that which isn't. So he says, oh, I know of the ego's role, the ginger says, but I'm here in control. And then the head goes on, reflect on what creates the self its gate and what does it regenerate. How real are characters in a book or their role and tale that is hook, like the Cheshire cat and its grin, appears and fades the self akin. For it isn't an entity that is stay, but an appearance in the play. The concept of self does not exist, appears, disappears, does not persist. For it is a guest that plays the role of the host and dreams it is whole. Try to find the self, you'll fail, for one alone appears to prevail. Yet don't accept a word I say. Reflect about the self stray. What happens to it in sleep or when lost in act deep? Who, what, where are you? Is there one to it know of you? Are you restricted to a name or are you the infinite flame? And of course, he goes on. Or and what will you label yourself to be? Form, feelings, the unseen, or what you see? Can the self split itself in two, or is all life in varied hue, playing, dancing all alone, with none to know or own, none to it know or own? Now, there's then of course the garlic then questions and then he replies, but I'll read this out. Um, It's one alone, appearing as every form, though it seems to perform as two. For there to be an appearance, of course, it calls about how love itself is an apparent choir, where forms are its creative attire. This oneness seems to experience itself as one or dual cadence, but there is no experience, neither an experiencer nor an experience, nor the occurrence. For there is only one apparent as two or none. Its dream is a self separate and an appearance, act and trait. Jealousy, joy, or annoyance are acts alone in appearance, and there's no one to own the acts or them does disown. Yet there is neither an occurrence nor one separate in this appearance. So there is neither a split divine nor a happening to plans align. Is not there isn't a character who makes an illusory register, is bound and confines, can liberate from the shrines. There appears only energy as all forms, completely free. Be this subtle or seen or imagined and unseen. And it appears the illusion too, a veil of seclusion. And when it seemingly lifts the veil, it is obvious there is no dual scale. So then the ginger asks, what is predestined fate or choice when timeless is time's voice? And then, of course, he talks about destined. What is predestined fate or choice when timeless is time's voice? And life apparent spontaneously does glow with no one ever in the shadow. So, how can there be so this perpetual argument of destiny and choice pertinent appears to be irrelevant when there's no singular celebrant? There's no volition or impact, but there's none behind the act. Yet, in appearance of the play, volition and karma seem to sway. For one energetic presence plays as it may in its appearance. So, in this appearance, seeming crime is met with retribution prime. And there seems a responsibility met with apparent causality, though it's an appearance. Hence, you will land in the jail if you harm food its trail. But this apparent appearance has no purpose or inference, is simply an expression occurring without intention. And this message is beyond all the inverses or bonds. All appears on its own, even the dream where the self sits on the throne, where individuality seems real, but choice, causality the wheel, or blames the deprived populace for that their life is destined by karmic race. For one appears as a foolish bind, brands and claims, credentials, just kind of course, it goes on. So this was the verse, the creative cut, where simply everything seems to appear, where it illuminates how everything seems to appear on its own, and there being no split between everything. All is simply one appearing as everything. So there's no split between formless, form, and forming. It's just one appearing as this. And in this, there's also a mention of the Indian trinity of Brahman and Brahma and the Hindu trinity, I would say. Brahman means the formless forming, whereas the sustain, that's not sustain, it's just floating fluidity, an apparent change, or that's the trinity that is there. But that is also simply an appearance. One means one alone appears as everything. It alone is form, formless, and it's forming. There's no division between the three. There's no, this division is only in the dream of duality. Thank you.